I'm the mom who knows nada. My name is Brianna, and welcome to the Mama Knows Nada podcast. Usually, we like to discuss those OMG moments, like when your kid pees on the floor or swears or colors on the wall. And generally, we like to focus on the everyday superhero parent who's just trying to get through it and get it done, and who usually is barely surviving each day. But today, we thought we would talk to somebody who might be able to turn our Hot Mess Express mom train into a potential wellness wagon. Maybe that would help us in our parenting. So today we're talking to Lauren. She is a wellness coach from California. She is the founder of the Healthy and Happy Method and the owner of LA Sand Wellness. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm very excited to have this conversation. Before we dive in to everything that you do and talk about in particular with women, what does wellness mean to you?
To me, wellness means just nourishing ourselves, mind, body, and soul. It's feeling balanced and resilient to whatever shit gets thrown our way. And it's really just about finding what feels good in your unique body in whatever season of life you're in, because our health is ever changing. Our needs are ever changing. And of course, this is going to include nutrition and movement, but especially for us women, this is really about reducing stress as much as possible, because that's not always the case, but as much as we can in whatever ways we can, focusing on our gut health and managing our hormones in a very holistic way, and understanding how every single day we really have the power to make choices to support the life we want to live and how we want to feel, and just really understanding that power is in our hands.
Ooh, that's good. That part's in our hands. Oh, geez. Way to take the ownership question out of it. So why is wellness important to you, and why should it be for women and in particular moms?
So it's important to me personally because I went through my own health journey for a lot of reasons. When I was 16, I was diagnosed with vitiligo, which is a skin disorder that Michael Jackson had. And I went to the doctor, and after multiple tests, they basically came back and told me, you're healthy. Good news. It's just vitiligo. This is just something random that happens to not very many people. And he told me, you're lucky you're white, so your spots aren't going to show up as much. And I just left in utter shock. First of all, what did he just say to me? And how can you tell me I'm healthy and my skin pigment is just disappearing? No. Yeah. But, I'm 16. I trust doctors. I'm not going to question it. So I go about my business. And then it was maybe 5 years or so later that I really started noticing my health just kind of crumbling. The pigment was rapidly disappearing in my skin. I was depressed. I was having all of these gut digestive issues. And I went to another doctor and was like, okay, these are all the things that are going on with me. And it's all happening at once. So what can I do? And they were just like, nothing. There's nothing you can do.
Helpful. Very helpful.
Yeah, very helpful. So I was like, okay, no, I will not accept this. Started doing my own research and really went down this rabbit hole of understanding gut health and how much that has to do with all disease, really, but especially mental health and especially autoimmune disease. And so I really just started experimenting and researching as much as I could and started playing around with different stuff and really found a lot of relief doing a lot of different things, different diets, different lifestyle stuff. Started doing some yoga and really just realized okay, doctors are never going to help me on my health journey. If I need them to save a limb or something, great. But when it comes to the basics, I really need to take my health into my own hands. And I think the fact that this is still like considered pseudoscience, and like us that practice like nutrition functional wellness is like, we're all wackadoodles in a lot of people's eyes. Like, to me, it just became my mission. Like, I just needed to get this information out to other people because I saw so many people suffering with similar stuff and having absolutely no idea where to turn to. And so for me now, I just like really want to share that, message with the world. Like, you have the power to take your health back. You really have a lot of opportunity to set yourself up for success in your health, in your mental health, especially. And so, especially for women and mothers, like that is a huge thing. We think like, oh, postpartum is just like a normal thing that we have to accept. And absolutely, there is some validity to that, but there are definitely some things that you can do to set yourself up so that it's not as hard for you, or you really have some opportunity to help yourself in that regard.
I think that's really important that you say that, because I think, to your point, sometimes we trust that, I say this to my husband all the time, a doctor is only as good as their experience. So if they haven't been met with the issue before, or they don't really know about the issue, they're not even going to consider it. And sometimes I think when we go in there, we're like, how much do you drink? How much do you smoke? Like, that stuff matters because we're chemistry sets essentially. And each chemistry set is going to have a different kind of experiment based on what's put into it. So I think that's really important, that you have to focus on the individual.
And yes, absolutely. Like, there's a whole bio-individuality component to it. Every single body is unique. Every single body needs something different. We're not just like small men with vaginas. Like, we really, have a completely different system than men do. And then within that, we all have our own unique systems. And Western medicine at this point is really based on studies on men. It's not catered to the individual whatsoever. And so the more that you can realize that and like realize what works for your unique system, the better off you're going to be.
So I know you are a woman. I think that's how you identify. Pretty sure. No offense to anybody. Just want to make sure that's clear. So as a woman, and your focus is on wellness in women, is there a certain reason you chose that versus men, or like a more holistic approach to men and women?
I chose to work with women because I think they're the ones that need the most help, truly. Like, it's so much easier for men. Their hormone cycles, for instance, are only like 24 hours. So they are pretty much stable a lot more than we are. Our hormone cycles are more on like a month-long basis. And so I think for me, it was just a really important thing to note that like what is out there is not necessarily designed for women. And so I really wanted to create something that was hyper focused on the individual, but more so focused on what we women struggle with. Like, for instance, women are so much more susceptible to stress than men are. And then that is going to take on a whole host of issues within the body, that can really set us up for all sorts of disease states, mental health issues, gut health issues, all of these things. And if we're just constantly operating from a standpoint of healing for men, then women are really getting left behind in that regard,
Interesting. I didn't realize that so many studies were focused on such a niche group. Obviously, even within men, there's the scope, but not even to have like women included in that is the point. Like, hello, I'm here.
And then on top of that, like when you go to talk to a doctor about your hormones, their first instinct is to give you birth control or give you something to balance your hormones that's synthetic. When our systems are perfect, nature is perfect. Like, everything that we were built with should still be in our bodies. We should not have to use all of these synthetic things to keep us in balance. And so if you really focus on like the root issues and understand why your hormones are off rather than just trying to adjust it with medicine, you can do so many beneficial things. It's not just going to balance your hormones. It's going to balance your entire system.
I love that you're talking about the root of the problem, because so many things are symptoms, and sometimes we focus on the symptoms and not the problem. And that's super important. Your symptom there's a root cause there. So when it comes to overall wellness, what are women missing in general? Like, what are we just not thinking about?
Truly, in my experience, it's the foundational stuff. It's like the boring, unsexy things that we sort of just bypass every single day, thinking like, oh, we need, this pill or this superfood or this supplement or whatever it is, when really it's the basics. We need to focus on breathing. We need to focus on sunlight. We need to focus on proper nutrition. We need to focus on moving our bodies in a way that feels good, reducing stress, things like that. And so I think just really like getting back to the basic stuff, like, how our ancestors used to live, like eating real food, things like that. It's really just like the basics.
And what are misconceptions within those basics, or like you're mentioning supplements and but I mean, what about vitamins? Is that like a misconception, or is there something that over you think you said something about like pills and they don't fix everything, right? So are there certain things we should be doing and what are they? Help me.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do think that, there's absolutely benefit in certain medicines. There's absolutely benefit in certain vitamins and things like that. Like supplementation can be really, really beneficial, but it really needs to be targeted. And it also needs to be not in replacement of the basics of the nutrition and all of the things, right? So if we're not even doing the basic stuff and we're just trying to cover that all up with a supplement or a vitamin or something like that, it's really not going to be as beneficial for us as if we were to just get back to the basic stuff. So for instance, stress is like a huge, huge, huge burden on our body in so many ways. It's not just like a mental, emotional situation. This could be stress from like not eating enough during the day, going 7 hours between meals because you're too busy chasing a toddler around or something, This could be you're not drinking enough water in a day, literally. And so many people tell me, oh, I drink so much water. And truly, that is not the case. Like 10 out of 10 of my clients tell me they drink enough water and simply do not. And once you start drinking enough water, suddenly your gut health is better. You're able to digest foods better. You have more energy throughout the day, So there's a lot of different things that you can do as far as like stress is concerned. There's a lot of different things that you could do that can help reduce your stress that goes way beyond the mental, emotional stuff. So like I said, the hydration component, making sure that you're eating a nutritious meal every single day, you're eating enough calories every single day, you're moving your body in a way that feels good, you're getting out in the sunshine so that you can reset your circadian rhythm every day. That can help balance out your hormones every single day. That can help with sleep. I think, so often too, like we're not equipped to deal with stress in a good way. We are not conditioned to actually manage our stress, but more so, we distract ourselves or we drown it out with alcohol or weed or whatever it is. We are getting on social media, not thinking about our problems. We are watching TV or, worrying about other people's drama so we don't have to face our own, like there's so many things that we do to sort of deal with our stress, but it doesn't deal with it. And so all of that just gets manifested in the body, and that can really wreak a lot of havoc down the line. Like I said, it can really affect your gut health. So one thing to really remember is when stress is on, digestion is off. So let's just say you are in a stressed out state, you're shoveling food down your face, you're not even taking like enough time to chew it and enjoy it, you're not taking deep breaths, you're just like kind of frazzled and shoveling. All of that is just kind of sit in your gut, It's not going to be digested well because all of your resources are going towards like your mental focus, your muscles, your heart beating as fast as it needs to, And so when we're not digesting our foods, we're already not getting the nutrients we need. We're causing dysfunction as it goes down the line, because if you're not able to digest, then the gut bacteria can run rampant and start chewing on these undigested foods and things. And, then on top of that, when we're in a stressed out state, we're really burning through a lot of vitamins and minerals and things that way. And then we're not getting the foods we need because we're not digesting it well. So then we're already like, you know, at an extra deficit in terms of nutrients and things like that. So really just focusing on what you can as far as stress can be a huge, huge factor there, you know?
There's so many uncontrollables too. And I think sometimes we forget, like, there are little things that don't seem stressful, but they are stressful. And then they cause like an anxiety issue. And I love what you said about water. And this is a total tangent, but I actually referenced, you posted something on your Instagram about how much water you should drink. And I was like, I'm just going to try to calculate mine. And I was like, that's a lot of ounces.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe I should drink one less cup of coffee or have like one less glass of wine a day.
There you go.
I think it was something crazy like 150 ounces a day, which equates to like 13 8-ounce glasses of water. Which,
how did you get to that point? How much coffee and wine are you drinking?
I mean, that's a topic for a different day.
So, all right,
and then the exercising, like I had to add, you know, like buffered out exercising, okay. But I was like, oh shit.
Okay, well, let's simplify that. Let's not go too deep into that equation, but there is an equation that you can kind of do. So just for basics, like baseline hydration every single day for most women should be about half of your body weight in ounces. So let's say you weigh 140 pounds, you should be drinking about 70 ounces of water a day, just as like your baseline. Now consider you're drinking any sort of diuretics like, you know, coffee, caffeinated teas, you're drinking like, you know, wine, alcohol, things like that. That can deplete your water even more, you know, breathing heavy even. Like if you're podcasting all day and you're talking a lot, literally like you lose 30% of your water just by breathing because we really have to moisten that oxygen for it to come out easily. You know, it's not burning our lungs all the time. And so you lose a lot of water that way. You lose a lot of water when you are eating a lot, you know, or you're exercising a lot, or you're sweating a lot. Like there's lots of ways that we're dehydrating ourselves. And so if you're not trying to keep that up through not only your water take, but like you could, you know, hydration doesn't necessarily have to be water, but it could be herbal teas, you know, it could be even some like juices and things. It could be like bone broth even can be a really great source, and can be super nourishing in a lot of other ways too. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the water component, but you know, just consider like 70 ounces a day is even more than most people are drinking on a regular basis. And so if your body is constantly in a state of dehydration, seriously going to affect your energy levels. It's going to affect the way that you're digesting foods. It's going to affect your moods, you know, your irritability, all of those things. So the hydration component is absolutely huge.
I read that and I was like, oh God, I got to just bring that up to her because I thought it was so funny. Oh,
just a quick tip too, like if you find yourself, if you do try to do this, which I highly, highly recommend, like truly, if there's anything you could take away from this, try this hydration component. But if you find yourself peeing a lot, you know, you're just like, it's just running right through you, putting a little pinch of pink Himalayan salt can be huge because it has those minerals, the electrolytes that you need to actually absorb the water. And so that pink Himalayan salt can be really beneficial, just like a tiny little pinch.
I'm glad we're recording this.
So you can remember.
Jesus Christ, I can remember what I need to do because I obviously don't do that.
I'm telling you, it makes a huge difference. It's always the first thing that I go through with my clients. Like week one, this is their number one goal is like hit your water goal every single day. And already by our second check-in, they're like, oh my God, like I feel great. Like I have more energy. My digestion's better. I'm no longer constipated. Like, you know, all kinds of things happen when you actually
drink your water and maybe not wine. So in terms of for pregnancy and postpartum, what are little things that women could start today that, you know, might just help them? The water.
So I want you to think of, so the stress component, right? Like I want you to think of it like a bucket. Like every single day we are filling up our bucket with various forms of stress. Like I said, maybe dehydration, maybe not enough food, maybe it's environmental toxins. You know, maybe there's mold in your home or something. Maybe you're eating foods with a bunch of pesticides in it. You know, if you're eating maybe like a ton of gluten or something and it's really inflammatory and also loaded with glyphosate, like all of these things can just increase your stress more and more and more. And then on top of that, you throw the mental, emotional stuff, you know, the kids screaming, the house is a mess, the dishes are loading up, all the things. All of a sudden our bucket is completely overflowing. So really just controlling whatever variables you can as much as possible can be a huge source of help there. But I think, you know, really looking at like the products you're using every single day. Can you start making simple upgrades in that regard? Like, for instance, a lot of beauty and cleaning products actually operate like endocrine receptors, or they block those receptors. So basically what that means is that it's screwing with your hormone balance. It's preventing your hormones from balancing themselves naturally. And so if we can start moving away from some of these products that are really toxic for our system, then you can actually begin to balance those hormones a little bit better on your own naturally.
And I'm just going to revert back to this email exchange we had. You listed some of those, and I actually just tried Branch Basics for the first time.
Oh, great.
Said, like, that was a good one. And I was like, oh, yeah, because I was like, none of my friends had tried it. And so I was a test dummy. And I really love it. And
it works.
And it works, too. Yeah. Like, oh, this
like the crap you get at Target that doesn't actually work that well.
Yeah. And the interesting thing, too, is what I think people don't understand about a lot of products in general is that they're all just water. Like, so much of our detergent, our sprays are just a water base with like a concentration of chemicals. And so to your point, like, I have a huge thing of concentration that I water down in order to like clean my tub from Branch Basics. And this is not an ad or a plug. I'm just saying I've tried them. And that email exchange we had, I just reminded. So I think that's really important. And I think it's also becoming easier for us to get those products. And I think there's a more of an awareness of how chemicals are impacting us overall. And I think that's probably something all women and moms, or just people in general, could do. Like, I wonder sometimes I'm at the grocery store, where did this stuff come from? Like, I don't even know. Yeah. Anyway,
like one really great thing that you can do is literally just start reading your ingredients. You know, look on the back, see what those ingredients are. If you're seeing a bunch of stuff that you don't know what it is, your body doesn't know what that is either. You know, that's a synthetic chemical that your body is really going to struggle to deal with and can really create a lot of issues. So this doesn't just apply to your beauty products and your home cleaning products and all of the things. This really applies to the things in your pantry, you know, anything with a nutrition label. Like, don't worry about the fat content and all of that crap. Literally look at the ingredients and just see what it is. You know, try to find the brand or, you know, the type that has the least amount of the additives and all of that crap in it. And I promise you, if you start getting back to like the more natural side of things, your body will also get back to naturally operating on the way that it's supposed to, you know?
It's funny you say that. I worked for a year at True Food Kitchen.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, right. And so if anybody's not familiar with True Food Kitchen, they are a concept by Fox Restaurant Group. They were eventually sold, but their whole menu and foundation is on whole foods. And they follow a lot of health and research and nutrition diagnosis from Dr. Andrew Weil.
Who's amazing.
Yeah, he's pretty fantastic. And the whole menu caters to people who want anti-inflammatory foods. And I have a question following this. And so that's like basically what you're talking about in terms of the food thing. Like, I have to say that when I worked there, even though I was eating a lot of food and snacking all the time, I'm also running around a restaurant, and this is before I had kids, I never felt better. And so now that like I'm the mom and I'm like, oh yeah, that bag of popcorn looks great and I want a potato chip, like I do notice that impact on my body, and I'm trying to like slowly get back to that. And so here's an off the cuff question for you. I have a huge issue with sugar and how much sugar I give my son, and I try to limit it to myself because I love chocolate. Like if I could eat chocolate every day, Well, I do. So I do.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing, especially
Right.
if you're getting the good stuff and it's darker chocolate and stuff.
I do eat darker chocolate. I do have a 92% cacao in the fridge. That's a little too bitter for me.
That's intense.
But in terms of wellness and nutrition and balance, what does sugar do to us? And what can I tell my husband I was right about in terms of sugar?
So truly, like, okay, when I work with my clients, first it's hydration. And then second priority is always simultaneously working on your gut health while also maintaining a good sugar balance. So sugar handling does not necessarily mean like, okay, you cannot have sugar. It's just a matter of understanding that when you consume sugars in any form, whether that be chocolate bars or, candies, sweeteners, or like breads, pastas, those refined carbohydrates, things like that, even some fruits and stuff, that's always going to spike your blood sugar. So yes, we do want to make sure that we are being aware of our sugar consumption and all of those things, but also just incorporating more protein and fat while you're eating those or even throughout the day can really help balance that out so that it's not just like a straight spike of sugar rush to your bloodstream. Instead, that sort of balances out a little bit more. And, it can just really slow down that sugar pull into your system. And so that can really make sure that our mood stays stable, our energy stays stable. It can really keep our hormones in check and all of these things because, as soon as you're consuming a bunch of sugar, insulin rises, which is a hormone, and that will start throwing all the things off. If, you're consuming too much of it, maybe we're becoming insulin resistant, things like that. So because that sugar balancing is so important for so many other areas of health, including your gut health, including your hormones, including your mental health, it's really a matter of like, okay, can I simultaneously start cutting back on some of the sugars, but also just really incorporate more of the nourishing foods that make us feel full and happy and satisfied, like fats. That's a big thing that I love to talk about because we're so fearful of fat. We think fat is going to make us fat. And truly it's the excess of sugar that's going to make us fat. So it's really, figuring out how can you sort of bring down some of those levels of sugar, but also increase some of those proteins and fats to sort of balance it out.
So basically at dinner time, put a few pieces of chocolate on my son's plate so that he's eating it all together and doesn't have a sugar high.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to try that.
If he had like a really good balanced meal for dinner, like he should be okay having a couple of pieces of chocolate afterwards because you do have that fat and protein into your system, it'll slow down that sugar high.
Tell you what. Can I have chocolate, Mama? Oh, chocolate. Oh, chocolate? I have M&Ms. That's what I'm doing. All right.
I love that.
So, oh my God, right? He's totally my son because he has such a sweet tooth, and I try so hard to balance my sweet tooth so I can imagine what it's going to be like for him. And don't get me started on my husband who just thinks that gummy bears and M&Ms is a diet.
Oh, nice.
I don't know. It's so great. All right. We spoke about this briefly in an email as well, but I had mentioned to you that I wasn't supposed to be able to have kids. I was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome, and your response was, no woman should ever hear that. And so I would love for you to elaborate on not necessarily like infertility specifically or PCOS specifically, but what is it that women can do and how overall wellness can really help us in conceiving and that whole pregnancy journey.
Yeah. So there are tons of things that you can do, and it's all the basic stuff that I've already spoke on. So basically what you need to understand first and foremost is that any sort of dysfunction, disease, whether it be PCOS, infertility, mental health stuff, like all of that is just a disease state. And basically all that means is that your body is not getting what it needs at the source, right? So we're not addressing the root issues here, and it is manifesting in your body in some way. For me, that was vitiligo. That was an autoimmune disease. That was mental health. That was gut health. For a lot of people, that could be issues with infertility, female reproductive syndromes, whatever those are. And so really just getting back to the idea of like nourishing your body, mind, and soul again, right? Making sure that you're reducing those stressful factors as much as you can, but also making sure that you're eating balanced meals. You're getting fat, protein, and carbohydrates with every single meal. You're not drinking too much or overloading on sugar or just consuming caffeine all day instead of water, like all of those things can really make a huge difference. And truly, I have seen with my own eyeballs, people who have been told their entire lives or adult lives, I should say, that they will never have children. And yet you get them on a diet that really nourishes their body and suddenly they're pregnant. Maybe not even expectedly, And so it's really just a matter of understanding that you just need to reset your system, That doesn't necessarily mean going on like a full detox or going on a strict diet. It's just about finding what works for you and your unique body and really just giving it the support it needs. Hormones, for instance, really need fats and proteins as the building blocks for those hormones. You need vitamins and minerals in order for those hormones to function properly. If you don't have that stuff, your body's constantly pulling and trying to, find the nutrients it needs from other forms of your body. You're in a state of disease, dis-ease. And so we really need to understand that like just focusing on the root stuff, the basics, getting back to a state of like trying to be calm as much as possible, drinking enough water, eating regularly, eating nourishing foods that are actually good for us, and it's not just a bunch of processed crap. That can seriously make a huge difference because your body will just start to regulate itself naturally.
I think that's a really important thing. And I'm just going to interject my own experience onto that.
Please,
I was working at True Food when I found out I was pregnant, and I had just left to start my writing career, whatever, with my now husband. And that was like the most wholesome I'd ever been in terms of the quality of food I was putting into my body, because I always ate at work, and that's what, the perk of managing a restaurant is you eat there, right? And Absolutely. When you have quality stuff, you're going to have, so I just thought that was really interesting. And the other thing that I thought was really helpful to me is acupuncture. And I know this isn't your specialty, but I felt like when I went to see somebody who, I can't take hormones. I've had blood clots. So even if I could be regulated hormonally by a pill, it could kill me. So I don't really want to deal with that again as a human being. It's not fun. It's not fun. I don't want to inject myself every day. So in terms of things I could do that, that witch doctor, like you were saying, like, it's a pseudoscience, but like, is it? Because, certain medicine and things have been around for, hundreds and thousands of years, and we're still doing them. So how wacky are they really? I don't know.
Right.
And I felt like as a supplemental thing, because it was one thing I could do to like reset certain, things on my body, like that was super helpful to me.
Absolutely. Like
I'm adding caveats here.
But it is an important point. So thank you for bringing that up, because, there's only so much we can do to manage our stress naturally on our own, especially when you're in the thick of the chaos. And so if you can go, like, for me, I do Kundalini yoga every single morning. It is 100% a habit that I have now, because I am so much more stable as a human being when I do my Kundalini every morning. And that's not to say that, every mom has time for that, but you can do certain things that just really reset your energy, like acupuncture, like Reiki, like even cord cutting ceremonies or meditation, all of these things that seem very woo-woo, and you're like, how the hell is this going to help me nutritionally or in my body? But that energetic reset is so important because it controls our nervous system, right? And so if our nervous system is off, that's really what is aggravating everything else. And so that stress response is exactly that. It's your nervous system overreacting, causing all sorts of issues down the line. And so if you can find something that relaxes you, even just a massage or something along those lines, even, self-massage, like there's so many things that you can do to energetically reset yourself to get you into a less stressed state.
I'm glad I have it. Oh, what are your thoughts on chiropractics? Just as a side note for reset.
I mean, if you are in constant pain, if you don't feel like you have good posture, any of those things, absolutely. Because if your bones are tweaked, then your muscles get tweaked, then your nerves are tweaked, and then all of that starts affecting down the line, all of that you start experiencing energy blockages and things like that. And that can manifest in disease in different ways as well. So absolutely. All of these like woo woo, pseudoscience things. I love it. Like
Never gonna.
chiropractic, acupuncture, like great. Give me all of it.
I gotta say, never in a million years that I think I would be like, yeah, I can't wait to find an acupuncturist. Like, I still haven't found one here where I live in Florida. So I gotta get on that. But I found a chiropractor, and I don't know. I started seeing a chiropractor when I was pregnant, and I don't know how I lived without one prior to. Like, just the day-to-day crap that we don't realize we put our bodies through, and like how off, you can feel off. Like, I literally felt off. So anyway, what is one piece of advice that you could give for a healthier life? There's one thing we need to take away. What do you think?
I mean, if there's one thing, truly, it would just be to understand that you're an individual and your body should be treated as such. You are a unique being, and just because one diet worked for one person doesn't mean that that's going to work for you. It's, you see so much stuff out there about, oh, do it this way, this is the way. And truly, that's not the case. Every single person needs something different, needs a different set of instructions, or needs a different way of going about it. Everyone needs to maybe be fluid within their diet within certain times in their cycle, or, seasons of their life, or whatever it is. And so really understanding that, like, you need to find what feels good for you. If you feel good in your body, like, that should be a really good indication that you're on the right track. If you don't feel good, then don't do that thing,
Don't keep doing that thing.
Like, I mean, there's definitely some things, like when you're in a healing phase, maybe it might feel like whatever you're trying to heal is actually getting worse. There's definitely some stuff along those lines. But for the most part, like, if let's just say, for instance, a salad is super healthy, right? We all know that eating a big ass salad every single day could be so great for us. But if you have a ton of gut health issues, that fiber and all of those, really hard to digest vegetables are going to be really, really hard on your system, and it's going to make it worse. So we need to understand that, like, maybe that person literally just needs to be a carnivore for a little bit and not eat so many vegetables. And I know people are going to be like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, what is that advice? But that's so true. Like, people need different things depending on what they're going through, what their unique system is looking for, So just find what feels good for you.
Last thing, I promise. When you're working with your clients and these kinds of things, is this the kind of assessment you do? You look at them individually and then cater your plan, Absolutely. The healthy, happy method, to sort like what they need specifically.
Yes.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, it's really great just because it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't matter what you're dealing with. We need to start with the root stuff. So for most of them, we're going through the basics in the first month or so. But then in the last 2 months, we're really catered to what your body is specifically asking for. Like, we'll go through food journals and really start making connections. Like, okay, your body really doesn't like chicken. And yet here we are being taught that, oh, chicken's the healthiest meat. It's so lean. It's so great. No, it's crap. It's not. It's not the best. It's not the best meat for us in any way, shape, or form. Actually,
I get bored of chicken.
Yeah.
Anyway,
eat more grass-fed steak and like wild-caught salmon. Your body will really be happy with that. But also, if you don't have the digestive juices to be able to break down that big steak, like, then you're running into issues there. So it's really just a matter of like, okay, seriously, what makes me feel good, and keep doing more of that, and then you can start to, find more pieces to the puzzle as you go.
I love that you're saying that. Just take the time to listen to your body so Absolutely. That you can overarchingly just be better to yourself. And then from a mom perspective, like, to your kids, like, so basically my cake pop downstairs, I need to eat with something, some good proteins and fats. So I don't crash and burn. Basically what I've decided is going to happen. Thank you so much for being with us today, Lauren, on the Mama Is Not a podcast. You can check her out on Instagram at LA Sand Wellness. Do a little Google search for her too. She's got some really, really fun posts on there that make you really think like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah, there's some really great free information there. So absolutely.
I know. There. I love it. I love it so much. That's why I really wanted to talk to you. If you out there in the world want to follow us, you can go to @mama.knows.nada. That's our Instagram, or mamaknowsnada.com. And we look forward to talking with you and seeing you in the future and learning all the things we didn't know we needed to know.